Valley, Bloodborne.
Well,
Stardew Valley and Bloodborne. You know, if someone ever makes either a Souls-like where you also maintain a garden and talk to a bunch of cute villagers, or a gardening life simulator where you're a spooky zombie man in a werewolf world, either way, they will own you for the rest of time.
I can already rescue the good-hearted prostitute and get blood treats from her by befriending her. That's kind of like giving somebody a couple pumpkins and then they send you a new recipe every now and then. By the way, because of course we're inevitably talking about these two gosh darned games that I never stop playing. Hi, this is Nick.
And I'm Kyle.
And we're here talking today about another sweet, swell episode of The Big Bang Theory, which is the television show we watch for this podcast called The Big Bang Theory. Oh, our creative name continues to impress even all these years in. And, yeah, I don't know. I would, if I played a version of Bloodborne whereas I cut off a bunch of dudes' heads, they popped off in a cute way and then became a collectible resource that I could trade with like gnomes in a mine. That would be nice. Also earlier today I was thinking about how now that I'm in the Ginger Snap Island, you know, effectively the DLC, I really adapted a colonial mindset that I'm uncomfortable with and have to reckon with as I continue exploiting the resources and ignoring the local starving child.
What are you talking about? That beach is yours by right, by manifest destiny.
There's this kid wandering around just hungry and sad, and I don't give a shit because I'm like, where are the golden coconuts, baby? I need the walnuts. What do you... I got too many of these trinkets, kid. Why don't you tell me some secrets? And then there's some lady that you can talk to, but I don't want to. I don't know why she's there. I can't give her gifts or butter her up, and if I can't get transactions out of her, I don't understand her purpose, Kyle. Again, this
Fair
is
enough.
my time on the vacation island. I'm just like, what do you people want from me? What good are you? And I have yet to open the resort, I guess. That's a real option that I'm working towards, is opening a resort on the beach.
You're so far ahead. You know, I actually started my 4th or 5th playthrough of Stardew Valley not that long ago. Do you know I never get through winter?
Never?
I've never finished a full year. It's not that you lose, it's just that's around the time I'm planting winter crops for like my 2nd or 3rd rotation, I'm like, this game has lost all appeal for me again. I don't know why. I admit that it's sad.
Is it the winter is too brutal for you? The haunting music touches your soul in a way that you weren't prepared for? Or is it like, I don't know, I wanted to harvest parsnips and now I can't make parsnips in the ground?
Yeah, I mean, it might also be just because, you know, my skill trees, I don't know how to optimize so I can keep doing enough different stuff. But yeah, at a certain point, it stops feeling like fun and starts to feel like a job.
Yeah, no, not me. I'm getting all these goddamn walnuts, I tell you what, because there's a door I can open if I get all of them. I don't know what's back there. I haven't spoiled it for myself. I'm really excited to see what's behind that door, Kyle.
Fair enough, my guy.
Hell yeah.
I am not here to give you a hard time about it.
Oh, no.
I mean, you do have a problem. You have a very clear addiction. But, you know, it's a harmless addiction. Of the addictions that you could have, it's one of probably the less terrifying ones.
Well, I mean, an addiction would just be doing the same sad activity that I, you know, over and over again without getting any sort of real pleasure out of it just because I need it. But Kyle, I don't know what's behind this door. This is going to be great. And the resort I'm going to build on the way, it's all going Nick's way, baby. Just like in this episode of television. Where some things probably go a character's way in a helpful transition that makes the two subject topics more relatable. Oh, gosh, all right. Let's get to the bitter, grim work of what we really do here. Today's episode that we watched is the official 10th episode of the 10th season of the American sitcom The Big Bang Theory. This was aired on December 1st, 2016, and is officially titled The Property Division Collision. The unofficial official fan summary of which reads, After Amy gives Penny the large, ugly painting of the two of them, Leonard and Sheldon get into a fight over dividing up their belongings. Meanwhile, Stuart and Raj fight among themselves as to who should help Howard and Bernadette, since the baby, highlighted as its own topic, since the baby is due soon. I thought there was too much going on in this one, and there's too much antagonism, and I'm glad that one of it seemed to sort out meaningfully, but the other arc, it just made me uncomfortable. How did you feel?
Yeah, I mean, this was an episode of the show, which I watched.
Right.
And I don't know, I actually thought Raj and what's the other, Stuart, competing over who got to take care of the baby was kind of cute.
Yeah, both trying to be the best mommy, both fighting over who is the most appropriate to have the primary parasitic relationship with Bernadette and Wallowitz.
I mean, it doesn't really go anywhere, but when does it ever? So
no. And they're both on board with it, at least this time. I think as useless as Wallowitz is, Bernadette seems more than happy to take advantage as well. So they've got that going. They're making a cute family. It's nice to have two, I don't know, catty nannies that just want your friendship and no payment. So
yeah. Two weird gay uncles. Also, did we talk about the fact that part of why Stuart's doing it is because he's homeless and wants to like worm his way into their life and live with them again?
Yeah, he's been evicted for unclear reasons from a place I'm unsure where he was living. And yeah, so he really shows up basically trying to sell his services in exchange for room and board. And then I guess that's the catalyst for Raj to get real catty about Stuart getting up on his turf as far as being the helpful friend in dire need of emotional connection goes. And so, yeah, they I don't know, just throw weird barbs at each other until there's a baby emergency. Specifically, Bernadette starts going into labor, and then they are best of friends. They chest bump and run to aid, which I don't know. I do like the idea that they obviously haven't coordinated any of this baby emergency stuff, and yet by immediately being on the same page, either they must have study the same routine of materials, or they are tapping into each other on such a level that they've developed this mutual intuition. You know, they didn't seem like they would mix, and now they are united.
Yeah, I do like that. It's like the friendship is magic. But it did remind. I mean, as far as the materials go, it's like not to get too personal about my life, but I have been reading some what to expect baby books lately, and you know, it is the advice I guess must be pretty common, because at one point they were like actually I thought they were irresponsible now that I know that how far along Bernadette was in her pregnancy, because they haven't actually taken their infant CPR class yet, which is something that Stuart is in the process of scheduling for them when it turns out that Bernadette is starts to go into labor. So you're definitely supposed to take your infant CPR class, like, you know, at least 5 to 6 months in, around, you know, after you've scheduled the tour of the hospital, which I also didn't know was a thing, but apparently you're supposed to schedule a tour of the hospital.
Oh, I thought you just ran in screaming one day.
I know, right? But no, like all of the, like, well, I shouldn't say all of the books, but the couple of books I've checked out are very clear, like, no, you should know that you should have, like, been to the hospital at least once or twice before in your life before you're going there to have a baby, which I guess makes sense.
Yeah, I guess. I'm a little old-fashioned. I think it should really be just like a stressful nightmare the whole way through, where you're like, well, technically we're prepared. We know what a baby is. And then the moment comes, and people are just like running around and traumatizing each other for like a day or more straight. Yeah, that's what that builds the initial character you need to survive this chaotic, brutal world. Maybe
so. It's, you know, in the season finale of The Pit, and I mentioned this part because it's not like super spoilery, but there's a woman who comes in who's pregnant and has never visited a doctor for her entire pregnancy. And they're like, why in God's name would you do this? And she's like, women have been giving birth naturally for thousands of years. To which the doctor, like, without even blinking, is like, yeah, do you know what the infant mortality rate was for those thousands of years up until, like, the last 50?
Yeah. But, if she didn't hear no noises that seemed inappropriate, no rattling when she was running fast or anything, well, how's she supposed to know what it needs?
Fair enough.
No one gives you that baby guide. They're out there, you could find them anywhere, and it's information she could have found, but did she know she was, like, pregnant?
Oh no, she was doing it on purpose. She was like having like a wildcat pregnancy.
I like that. I like that because it implies that there's striking conditions under which she needs to, which I guess is true. But anyway, the other plot doesn't involve any sort of baby drama. I guess unless you consider, like, Sheldon really being a terrible childish baby monster in this one, who I guess kind of gets over it at the end, but basically I get what is supposed to be the A plot here is I hate, I'm like looking at the summary again, and it like focuses on the ugly painting being given back, which I guess is technically a plot point. It's just like a thing that it's like a running joke. What really is the plot is the gang consisting of Leonard and Penny, and then Sheldon and Amy as coupled pairs, are talking more seriously about dividing up
that's
stuff.
a good... I'm sorry, I don't mean that, but
No?
it's like Howard and Wolowitz and they don't even talk to each other this episode, do they? Like, they're not in a single scene together.
Strictly divided. I hadn't thought about it, but now that you mention it, yeah, there is no overlap.
Interesting. Anyway.
Yeah, no, it's probably, two completely different shooting schedules and arrangements, and I don't know, maybe someone was like kicking each other in the legs a bunch at the time. I have no reason to believe that, but I have no reason not to believe it. So anyway, they're dividing up their property, and I guess I do like how quickly they get right down to it, which is Sheldon starts doing his, oh so consistently quirky thing of like, oh, hey, do you want this? Oh, but here are the reasons that actually should be mine. Oh, do you want this? Oh, but here are the reasons that actually should be mine. And instead of like running that into the ground, Leonard just says, hey, take whatever you want. Just take it all. I don't care. Just, and then that gets into the tiff of like, I just, after years of friendship, I'm giving in. He's going to do this with every item, so let's just let him have it all. And then that turns into what seems like it's going to be a real discussion about, like, Sheldon being too selfish and needing to, like, consider, like, Leonard's needs or whatever. But really the episode then becomes Sheldon finding increasingly boundary-pushing ways to fuck with Leonard while he's not even in the apartment. Which... Yeah,
culminating in an actual pretty good cameo, I thought.
Oh, yeah, no, Christopher Lloyd vibrantly appearing, showing up just to resolve one plot. I thought in spite of the fact that there was no overlap, he also should have appeared in the B plot for no reason at all and done the same thing. And, also, maybe this is, I don't know if this is a fair criticism. What happens is, first, it's like Sheldon changes the router password, which already is just such a dipshitty thing to do. That's just...
that would already be grounds for war.
Just so frustratingly petty. And then that is followed with Leonard taking this valuable flag that I've already forgotten its significance.
It's the official roommate. It's like the official flag of their apartment.
Yes, and it's huge. And Sheldon is like, well, it only has significance for me. And Leonard's like, well, I just want it because it bothers you, and starts wearing that as a toga on his bare nads, which is emphasized. And then this follows with it's not actually an assault, but it doesn't feel like the boundary level isn't far off where Penny and Leonard come into the apartment, and Christopher Lloyd is just there living now. And Sheldon's like...
this is the sort of thing that if it happened to you in real life, would just, like, objectively not be cool.
No, these are the circumstances that lead to second-degree homicide, where you murder somebody, but then a jury looks at it and they're like, he wasn't that wrong to murder him. Like, it was a murder, but did you see what he did? And the only criticism I have, which is, like I said, I'm sure it's not fair because I feel like it worked out for the best, is Christopher Lloyd is weird, apparently destitute guy who is paying to be there $1 a night and can barely scrape by. Oh God, I just blanked out thinking about his dire circumstances. Oh, but yeah, so for being like a weirdo, he's perfectly affable and charming and does nothing weird other than how immediately he like adapts to the space. And so I kind of wish he were doing like funkier, more annoying things that, seemed like truly objectionable. But I'm just happy Christopher Lloyd's there. So
it's more banking on just the real menace of having a completely unknown stranger who looks like Christopher Lloyd looks. Than anything he actually does. Because this was definitely... I think this was around the same time he was in that movie where he played a serial killer. He's a charming guy and he will always be Doc Brown first and foremost. But also, if you told me that if you showed his face and was like, this is a man who had been chopping people up and keeping, their hands in his basement, I would be like, yes, this looks like a guy who has a basement full of hands.
And it's that believability about even that hypothetical situation that is so much of his charm. You're like, I don't know that he doesn't get up to... I mean, he does it, right? Because he's a good guy, but if he were up to it, you'd be like I always figured. Well, anyway, the plot gets resolved, I think, basically... Oh, right, I said already, because Christopher Lloyd, all of the parties involved are arguing in the hallway, and Christopher Lloyd comes out. And honestly, I laughed out loud, and it was a really great delivery, where it was like, oh, it seems like, maybe you were struggling with these feelings with this friendship that you've never really articulated, and now you're not sure how to handle them, and, you're holding on to these things as well. And someone says, we didn't really ask for your advice. And he's like, I'm going to keep talking anyway. And it just carries on. And I'm like, yes, that's what I want him to just show up and do in every show that has ever been made.
I mean, he was originally on Taxi, right? Like, he's an old school like TV actor, so it was just like watching again, as is often like just when Bob Newhart was on the show. Yeah, it's just like watching like Professor
Proton,
plutonium. Yeah. Now, admittedly, he was older and his delivery was even a little slower, but it really does feel like watching an all-time pro. Or actually, an even better example is whenever the guy who plays, or the lady who plays, whenever any of the parents are on the show. It's just like, you have the regular cast, who are just the regular cast, and then every now and then, someone who steps down from basically the all-time television pantheon just shows up, and particularly the way Christopher Reeve was moving tonight, it was just like watching Michael Jordan, playing a pickup game with a bunch of high schoolers, and he made sure he's 70 and has bad knees now, but he can still hit a free throw from anywhere on the court.
Yeah, none of them are even close.
That was a basketball metaphor, a game Kyle doesn't actually play or watch or understand, but he did his best.
Yeah, I played a bunch of NBA Jam for a bit, but I don't think that's how basketball really works.
Is that the one where you have it goes super dunk or whatever?
Oh, that's where it really does hard? All that cool shit. You get a lot of 1993, he's on fire, turbo mode, all that kind of stuff. And if basketball players literally caught fire if they ran fast enough, I'd be there every night, baby. But no. Instead, again, the real world is a disappointment. Speaking of plot resolved, just by Christopher Lloyd serving as a Deus Ex Machina. Anything else about this episode?
No. We got more out of that than I thought we were going to get, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I was ready to be extra dismissive, but Christopher Lloyd just brings out the best in all of us. Speaking of people and things we actually enjoy, Kyle, let's just move straight into our things we actually enjoy and recommend. Like I said, I did, right as we started recording, thought of the one I want to recommend, but would you like to go first or shall I?
Just 1 second pause while I open my second can of Dr. Pepper.
Oh no, just open it, baby.
Sorry, just 1 second. The tab is frozen. There we go. Okay.
Was this a key open?
Yeah. Absolutely it was. Go ahead. Your turn.
Okay. Yeah, well, I just watched it, I guess yesterday. Maybe it even just came out yesterday. The latest Folding Ideas video, which I'm certain we've talked about that channel before. Like, I don't know. Do you know who Folding Ideas is?
I don't think so.
He was the NFT line goes up guy. Or do you remember that at all?
No, I mean, that also, I was able to parse what those words meant, but was that a meme that I missed?
Not a meme exactly. It was, so Folding Ideas is the YouTube channel made by this guy, Dan Olson, who is contemptibly Canadian in all of his pronunciations. But what his deal is, he's a YouTube video essayist, and he's like a middle-aged guy, like right now. He was younger earlier, as time works. That's classic Dan Olson for you. And the video that he got the most popularity from, and I think, like, maybe I knew who he was, but this is what really got me into him, was a couple of years ago. I mean, maybe like literally 2 years ago, he released his video. I think it was just called Line Goes Up, about NFTs. And it was a couple hours long, and it was basically just a takedown of how absurd, not just like how NFTs are a ridiculous, abstract, nonsense, valueless garbage thing, but that they're just like, you know, one of the representations of like the completely abstract, speculative nonsense nature of crypto, and how, you know, there's so much more investment in what is essentially just like a pyramid scheme among things like that. And, you know, correlation isn't causation, but interest in NFTs dropped dramatically after that video made its rounds. And so, yeah, again, who knows? But it kind of feels like he actually did a real public service with that one. And not all of his videos are like that impactful. Like he's a guy that kind of just likes to pick apart and complain about things, which is great when it's great, and otherwise can be, I think, a little grating. But the latest video, I think, is his latest banger, which is he and a handful of other YouTubers were invited without explanation to tour Mr. Beast Studios and like view production of like the latest season of whatever Mr. Beast, not actually Squid Game, but totally based on Squid game show he's doing. And the video it tries to answer the question of, why was he invited to that? Why would Mr. Beast invite the miserable middle-aged takedown guy to that, to do exactly what he's going to do, which is to take down what a bizarre, awful, hollow experience the entire thing was? And like, you know, I guess that's really the core of it, and it's great. It's really just about, I don't know, kind of with the NFTs, I guess, just like the emptiness of just producing content, like for the sake of producing it effectively. And it's one of those things where it's funny because like by the time I finish watching it, and this is one of his shorter ones at least, so it's not like a brutal multi-hour thing. But you get to the end of it and it's like, yeah, it is very unclear, if not for just a chaotic and uncaring world, that Mr. Beast would have invited Dan Olson for any good reason whatsoever. And that this is, yeah, it's very interesting and kind of funny, and also a tragic affair. And so, yeah, I can't even remember. Just look up Folding Ideas Mr. Beast. That's all you need. And then Folding Ideas, generally, I recommend too. But, like, again, this one particularly. Kyle, your turn.
Got it. I'm going to recommend, I'm always driving to work and driving home. Commuting, I think the kids used to call it back in the day. A thing that is almost unheard of anymore, but I still commute to work.
Now you're IRL travel maxing.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. That was the joke I was looking for and couldn't find, so thank you for delivering.
I'm hip with the youth culture and lingo. Like
so
the word lingo.
So I'm always looking for things to listen to in the car. And I found I think this is one of those things that's actually like absurdly popular. In that, like, I only found it because it was like on the like number 3 or 4 on the podcast recommendation feed one day, which means a spot, by the way, we could only aspire to in our worst nightmares.
Hold on a second. That's funny. I was listening to a podcast that's talking about kind of behind the scenes production stuff, and I think the numbers that define what is considered a successful podcast are surprisingly attainable. I think if we actually did a show like adults and weren't just like pals fucking around, we'd have a going concern. And yet, nah. So
maybe one day, maybe when we're through with this trial we've set up. That is, it's. I mean, when I am doing what I'm about to do, which is comparing us to the Beatles, I want to make it clear.
That's
I do
fair.
not think we are an all-time generational talent, but
no,
I do
each of
like
us is twice as good because there were 4 of them, and yet we still contain that amount of talent.
My favorite origin story about the Beatles is that, they had that whole long weird period where they were just like playing, all their songs in German in a seedy nightclub in Germany somewhere. I don't remember where, but they were in, they spent like 3 or 4 years just playing sets every night in Germany before they came back to Britain and started really taking off. And so I like to think that this is recording, what's got to be coming out. What episode number are we on now?
Well, like total?
Yeah.
Ooh, I can get that really quick based on the episode number we're at, but
yeah,
it's 250 something, I think.
Right. So we're, well over 200 hours of talking about this stuff.
Oh yeah.
This is our CD about the Big Bang Theory. This is our CD German VAR.
I do feel dirty and weird, like I'm trying to appeal to a cold, faceless audience that has high standards that I impose only on myself because they don't communicate with me. And when they do, it's positive, and I just choose to ignore it. By the way, I overestimated. We, as of this episode, are at 217. It's still a fucking lot.
Yeah. Good enough for me. Anyway, I apologize for that long sequitur. But my point is, the podcast I'm going to recommend is one that probably anybody who's really into like narrative podcasts have already heard of. But I had never listened to it before, and I've listened to like the first 2 seasons, and it's quite good. And that show is Midnight Burger.
Oh, I've not heard of this.
Yeah, Midnight Burger. It is a it's a narrative podcast. It is not heavily improvised the way a lot of them are. Like, it is not like Tales from the Magic Tavern or whatever that show is called, where it's people doing a lot of bits. Like, it is clearly they put a lot of work, it feels like, into the writing of each episode, because they have real narrative arcs. The inspiration is like very like it's one part Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, one part actually like 2 parts Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, 1 part Sliders, which they even reference in one, and maybe a little bit of Doctor Who thrown in there somewhere. But basically, it's about a bunch of people who, for different reasons, have found themselves working at a diner that traverses space and time, and shows up on random basically every episode it pops up in a new place somewhere, either in space or in Earth in a different time period, or sometimes in a parallel dimension. It does all the greatest hits. But the main characters are all just, they don't have any particular agenda beside to like serve coffee and burgers and try to make the lives of the people who are coming in. Cause like they quickly figure out like basically wherever the diner shows up, it's because someone is, going through it and needs some help. So they mostly like, are providing comfort and assistance to people. And so the cast is like, there's a sketchy line cook with like a shady past, that almost certainly involved all manner of criminality. There's only like on a galactic scale. There's the manager who is just like incredibly jaded about the whole process, despite it being magical. There's a theoretical physicist who is like who lives at the bar or lives at the place without participating, and then there's the new arrival who's like the audience proxy character who's a waitress / also cook who is working with them. And then there's also, they don't have a TV, but they have an old-timey radio, and the old-timey radio is alive, and there are two people who live inside the radio. And so, yeah, and every episode they have a nice little quaint adventure. And it's pretty good. I've been enjoying it a lot.
Do the people in the radio live there aside from the radio's functions, or are they the ones that make the functions happen?
Well, that's part of, this is definitely, it's a pretty lore heavy show where it's like, there is a cosmic mystery that is slowly unfolding over time. And you never, we haven't gotten that much of it, and I'm not sure that part of it will be satisfying. But to be clear, the people in the radio think that they are a pair of like early 20th century pirate radio broadcast preachers doing an old-timey gospel revival station in the middle of like Arkansas or Alabama or something like that. But they can also clearly see and hear and understand everything that is happening in the diner, and everything that happens in the diner they hear, and then they can talk to those people. So how that can possibly be the case is like one of the fun little mysteries of like, well, you can't actually be the people that you yourself think you are. And they're like, yes, we're quite aware of this, but that's still our conscious experience of how we're experiencing reality right now. So I don't know what you want from us.
I'm just glad that they're active and willing participants, because I was afraid this radio where it had just like a baker and just like a random child living in it, trapped in eternity, forever getting these signals and wondering, why are we trapped in this radio? Why also we're going to make the best of it if this is eternity, but what does this mean in the context of any of this?
No, there are a couple of little like quaint little Jesus freaks, which was part of my concern, because I was like, is this like a backdoor? Like, is this, focus on the family? You. Well, I don't know if there used to be this, well, there's still Focus on the Family, but Focus on the Family used to do like a lot of radio, and a lot of that radio was like secret conservative Christian propaganda, including like narrative podcasts like Adventures in Odyssey, which now that I think about it, it's definitely probably also an inspiration of this show. That, and what's the other one? Because they made it into
Veggie Tales.
Garrison Keillor. Do you know who Garrison Keillor is?
Oh, the Prairie Home Companion guy.
Yes,
apparently a jerk.
Yes, yes, definitely canceled now, but he also had a very popular radio show for a long time that was like a mix of improvisational storytelling and old-timey music. So that's also got to be a Prairie Home Companion is also definitely an influence. So I was a little nervous, but it's not super preachy. I think it's more, to help define their characters in a fun, interesting way. And insofar as they're like, yeah, okay, you don't want to say that God exists, but you are okay with the fact that we live in a universe with a magic time-traveling diner that knows when people are in trouble and shows up there. All right, fine, but we're the crazy ones for believing in God. And it's like, I guess that same criticism probably would apply to any show with this level of magic and science-y stuff. So that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I need my firm belief in the Lord to accept all these other bizarre freaks running around me and that they're not right about whatever the hell it is I'm so confident about. Oh. These people on the radio, I tell you, we're going to have a talk.
You should check it out. Midnight Burger. That's my recommendation.
All right. So we got a Midnight Burger, a folding idea, a dimensional pasta. Ooh, 2-dimensional pasta. You can make it look so good, but you can never actually.
I started to say, so isn't that like super thin linguine?
Well, no matter how thin it is, it has volume, right? It's an impossibly thin pasta.
Impostable?
Oh, gosh. Yeah. Impossible fettuccine. Oh. That's what I want to get at Midnight Burger. I want to get the Ouroboros ravioli. All right. Mobius meatballs.